Hey there, and welcome to the Business of Business podcast. Here we are two daughters and their dad, seeking to inspire and educate you to follow your dreams of being in business by teaching you the business of being in business. The good, the bad, the humor are all parts of our unique perspective as an entrepreneurial family. Thanks for joining us. So grab a coffee, turn up the volume. Here we go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast. I am your host, Staci J. Dempsey, and it is two daughters and their dad. And per usual, thankfully, I have the dad, Jack Dempsey, and the other daughter, Jennifer Faith. Great morning to both of you. How are you?
Good morning. Wonderful. How are you?
Yeah. I'm fired up if you can't tell. And the reason I'm up is because we do have a wonderful guest with us this morning. We have with us best-selling author Kate Butler. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being willing to be a part of our podcast. I'm particularly excited to have Kate on today because she's just a very dynamic woman, best-selling author, putting out some of the most positive books that I think you can get in the world today. And I wholeheartedly mean that. Before we started recording, telling us that business is booming, and that is so exciting to me, especially during these times. Kate, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, how you started your business, and particularly why you started your business?
Sure. So my business currently is coaching. That consists of life coaching, business coaching, and goal setting coaching, mindset coaching, and also we publish privately authors who want to get started in publishing, write their own book. We also publish children's books and journals, all sorts of different things like that as well. And the last main vertical of our business currently is our Inspired Impact book series. And this is where women would come together, 30 women per book, and they write a chapter to become a best-selling author versus writing an entire book, but they get to do it as part of a community. And then they're part of our #1 international best-selling book series. We used to also have events as a part of our vertical, and we are currently pivoting to online events. So more of that to come towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year. But that's what business looks like currently. How I got started. We've been in business now going on 7 years, I want to say 7 or 8 years now. I started my career in corporate. I was a corporate recruiter. And just after graduating college, I just was one of these people that always had these big dreams and big goals and just a big risk taker as well. So I grew up on the East Coast, and I just had a passion for always wanting to live on the West Coast. And my parents said, well, you can go to college out there, but if you do, we're not helping you at all. So I said, all right, fine, I'll go to college on the East Coast. You have 4 years, and then I'm moving there. So literally I graduated college, packed up my car, and drove to California. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live. I knew like one person that was like a friend of a family friend and so on. And I just drove up and down the coast until I found a place that I felt like I wanted to live. I ended up in Orange County, and I always said that if I had gone so far south as San Diego, I probably would never have come home. So I'm back now on the East Coast, but I ended up in Orange County. And when I was there, I got a job at an advertising agency, and I just was like, this is it. It was so shiny. You know what I mean? Like everything was like so shiny and pretty and exciting. And then I get in there, and I was there for a year, and the more I learned about it, I was like, no one's making any money. Like this is so bizarre, right? And maybe it was just the advertising agency that I happened to be working for, but I was just like watching how the wheels were turning behind the scenes. And I was like, there's a lot of money being filtered in and out, but no one's making any money except for the owners of the company. So I was like, this isn't for me. So I said, I want to be in a job where so I get paid on how hard I work. In other words, I wanted commission. So this is where I left this job after 1 year. This is right out of college, and I found myself in this recruiting job. So I took a pay cut. I think I was making $24,000 a year on my salary. And I just said, it doesn't matter how much you pay me in salary. I just want to be paid for how hard I work. So they offered me the commission plan, and within 1 year, now I'm about 24 years old at this point, I become the manager of the office. I'm running a multi-million-dollar office, my first time making six figures, and I only go up from there, right? And I find myself eventually as a, director, VP level, of course, after several years, I ended up in recruiting for about 13 years. And part of that journey for me was all about the learning and the growing and learning business, right? One of the things I say now that I coach on and I teach on is I say there's never the end game, right? There's never that, I achieved that and I'm done. The only happiness that I ever experience in my life is through growth, right? So I don't know if that's the same for you or anyone listening out there, but I can be going towards a big goal. And when I finally achieve it, I do have that moment of satisfaction. But the next day I wake up and I feel like it's the day after Christmas morning. It's like, okay, what's next, right? So it's not about actually getting that goal. It really is about the growth as I'm going through the journey. So it took me different promotions and different jobs and different companies over 13 years of recruiting to really figure out, you know what, there is no growth for me here. I've done it all. And so this was a point in my life also where I got married and I was having my first child. And I was like, I just can't go into this corporate office anymore. At this point, I was back on the East Coast. I had a corner office on Market Street in downtown Philadelphia. And I could not imagine driving into the city every single day with this newborn baby, leaving her at home. So I started my own company. I thought, this is growth, right? Like, this is going to be my new journey. I'm going to open up my own recruiting company. And it was for a while, for about 4 years, it was the stretch, the growth, the journey that I was looking for. And then I woke up one day and I realized I hate checking my email. Like, this is my own company. I own this company. And I literally don't even want to open my email. I don't even want to look at this inbox. I don't even want to respond because I just don't want to be doing this anymore. And now at this time I have two daughters. So I have a toddler and an infant. And I found myself talking to them, just like we do it at nighttime with our kids and reading stories and, just wishing for them all that we know is possible for them in this world. And one day I remember looking at my children, I was putting them to bed and I was, dreaming and just knowing in my heart all that they were capable of doing and all the dreams that were at their fingertips. And I took a step back and I went, oh my gosh, like, what happened to yours? Right? What happened to your dreams? How can you possibly expect these children who have unlimited potential, but how can you expect them to really go after it and create this life that they're capable of and that you desire for them if you're not actually doing it yourself? And it was in that moment that I just stopped. I put an exit plan into place. I sold my recruiting company. And I said, what would you do if you didn't worry about the money? Like, what would you, if you could do anything, like, what would this look like? And I said, I've always wanted to write a book. I don't even know where to start. I don't know anyone who's written a book before, published a book, become an author. Like, that was a very, very far-fetched pipe dream for me at that time. And like I said, this was about 7 or 8 years ago now. And I just said, I'm just going to do it. And as fate would have it, it was just around that time that one of my friends invited me to attend a retreat, Staci, similar to how you and I met. And I thought it was nuts. I was like, wait, you want me to pay to attend a weekend retreat with women I don't know that are going to sit around a campfire, write in their journals and talk about their dreams? You are insane. Like, there's no possible way I'm doing that. It's bizarre. And like, I'm a girl from Jersey, right? Like, this is not what we do here.
Right.
Right? So I go, all right, you know what? Something keeps pulling me back to this email. Something keeps pulling me back to this experience. So I walk in the kitchen, I tell my husband, I got to go to this thing. And he looked right at me. When someone sees right through you. And he's like, I think you should go. And I was like, oh God, dagger in the heart, right? Like, you think I need this? Oh my gosh, right? So I go. And it was life-changing. And not only was the mindset that I learned during that retreat life-changing and all of which I live by today, but I met Patty Aubrey, who was the person hosting that retreat. And she ended up introducing me, and she was the president of Jack Canfield's companies and president of the Chicken Soup for the Soul companies, which were very successful books, and still are actually to this day. And so I ended up working with Jack and Patty over the next, they're now my partners in business in a lot of different programs and aspects, but at that time, they were my mentors. And this is how I started to get this idea, wait a minute, I can write a book and it is possible. And there's a big misconception out there because I worked with Jack and Patty that they showed me how to publish. That is not true. They just said, you can do it. And I believe them. So I went and figured out how to do it, but they didn't actually show me the ropes because publishing has changed so much since Jack and Patty published the Chicken Soup for the Soul books to the way that publishing is now. So I had to relearn all of that, but that's what I did. And when I published my first children's book called More Than Mud, it ended up staying on the Amazon bestseller charts for over 100 weeks straight. Moms were the people buying my children's book. They said, I'm getting more out of this book than my children. There's very deep messages in this book. Do you do anything for moms? And this is what catapulted my coaching career and me starting to work with other people on publishing their books as well. And that's really how it all began.
Wow. Well, there's that you hit on that we've talked about in other episodes. The one that always stands out to me and that I always find so interesting is when people decided to take their leap of faith and pursue that thing that's pulling them or pursue their passion, pursue their dream, because it is always at what the world would perceive as the most inopportune time to do so. And so I can certainly see myself a lot in you as far as, having the two small children. And it makes me teary-eyed because when you're telling your story about, here I can see myself every night when I put my kids to bed and I'm telling them, I'm so proud of you. You can do anything in the world. I know you're going to make such a difference in the world. It's like, I could see myself in that. But the most inopportune times, right? Two small children, probably doing all right, doing okay for yourself, career and money-wise, but it just not being it. That it just, I always find that so interesting. And then having mentors, and just the stretching of oneself to pursue that. Jack, you look like you're itching.
I'm about ready to spontaneously combust here.
Yeah.
That was really great, Kate. One of the things, and I know Jennifer has a strong interest in this topic too, is that transition. When you were observing in your corporate world how people were working in these jobs, but they weren't really making any money, and how you figured out somewhere in there that, the way you're going to make money is through sales and commissions. I mean, commissions is a way you're going to make money. Because one of the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs or people are thinking about entrepreneurship is leaving something that feels safe into something that you have to rely on commission income or, just business income to ultimately support your family. So I guess my question is, how would you walk someone through that if they were like, I really, I know that I can do more. I know that I can achieve more. I know I can make more if I get paid for what I'm truly worth, but I'm nervous. I'm scared of leaving what I feel is the safe place.
I have to say that that's never really been my mentality as far as the safe place. The bottom line is that you can always go back to the safe place. Like, it'll always be there waiting for you. So when you take a leap, right, it can lead to something better, and it, quite frankly, might even put you 2 steps behind. I've made a lot of leaps that haven't worked out, and although you might consider them to be a failure, I learned so much from them that they were also stepping stones to what ended up being next for me that was a success. The core of it all is the belief in yourself. That is what it boils down to, in my opinion, 100%. The mindset, the belief in yourself, and the confidence might not be there at first, but you can build your confidence muscle over time. But if you believe that there is more out there for you in the world, then the belief in yourself will pull you through, that achievement. And so, I learned really early on. I mean, I was a hustler always since the day I could get my first job at 14 years old working at Dairy Queen. And it wasn't, I figured out, if I pick up more shifts, or if I work this holiday, I get time and a half, or, if I, stretch it and do the chew, then my paycheck looks like this versus like this. Right. And then I went, but I have extra hours where nobody's hanging out at the beach, or nobody is going out until 9:00 at night. So I can actually work from 6 until 9 at something else. Then I ended up working at the bank, right? Then when I worked at the bank, I realized, I get more money if I open up accounts, new accounts, I get $50 more or whatever it was, right? So I went, this is where I started to realize, like, the more I work, like, I can start to control some of this. There was a lot that was out of my control. There is still a lot that is out of my control. But I started to recognize the things that were within my control. And then I believed in myself that I could show up and I could do the work and I could do a great job and that I would get rewarded for it, right? So then that belief carried on with me. So then in college, I had this dream. I had a vision board up ever since I was a weird kid. I would create dream books like when I was little, right? I didn't even know what they were at that time. Vision board wasn't even a language. Even in college, I would have the boards up in my dorm room and people would be like, what is that? I'm like, I'm going to California when I graduate. And I had the map and it looked like serial killer if you look in the window,
Right.
But, but then in college, same thing, I waited tables, but I didn't just wait tables. I made sure I got the 24-hour diner job so I could work anytime. So I could pick up a shift in the morning, I could pick up a shift at night, and then also I could take up as many tables as possible. So this was the beginning of how hard you work, you get paid accordingly, right? And that was my money to save up to go to California. But I also always had a bigger vision in mind, when I was picking up, working 2 or 3 jobs, down the shore, which is at the beach for people who aren't local, over the summer, it was I had goals in mind. My parents were like, you can't drive unless you pay your own car insurance. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to hustle and get that car insurance paid so I can still have my license. But then also I want to make sure I have extra money, right? So I had to hustle and make sure I got that done as quickly as possible. And I had a big goal of going to California, right? So it wasn't a question of, can I make these things, these ends meet, or, can I pay my bills, or it was always way bigger than that I was going for, right? It wasn't okay, I got to do this to pay my mortgage. No, it was there's no question. I'm doing that. That's absolutely happening. Now, what else can I push myself to? Bob Proctor will tell you, who is, somebody who is just an incredible mentor to me. I'll say that you have so much potential in your one little pinky finger. If you even imagined how much potential you have just in your one little pinky, you would never question your ability again, right? And it's that kind of belief that we must have in taking any risk, whether it be going to a commission position or whether it be starting your own business or whatever leap of faith you have and whatever you want to do. It's if you're not going to do it now, when? The time is now. Our time here is so short. The time is now.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that as you're describing all that, I'm looking at Jennifer, and her experience and journey in her business, and you were really describing Jennifer. I mean, super belief in yourself and what you are capable of doing. My role, Jennifer's role in many cases, taking what you just said and now trying to transfer that to stylists who have control once they get someone in the chair, getting people in their chair. Certainly, same with me in terms of how I do my business. So I like what you said there. Again, it's you have to start with that big vision, that big why, and not just about thinking about survival. That's such small thinking. If you're just thinking, how can I do this to survive, then you're thinking way too small. You should be thinking, how can I do this to thrive? More than just survive. And the other thing that you pointed out that I think it's important for our listeners to hear is that I think anything new that you reach out into, entrepreneurship or sales, something that's, again, commission-based, there's going to be that, initially there's going to be that dip, that dip. And I think you described that, it wasn't just a straight trajectory up. It was, it was kind of a dip, a two steps backwards before you made any progress. And I think that's really important for our listeners to hear.
Yeah, if I could to make just a comment on that, although I had, I was just going to go for it, whether I failed or succeeded, because why not? Like, I'm not, we're only here for this one life, right? Like, even if I fail miserably, like, I'd rather look back and see the failure, right? And have done something, than just sit around and not do anything, right? So I was always going to go for it. But the dip is very important, what you bring up, because that doesn't mean it's easy just because you always go for it, right? I emptied out my 401k to start my first recruiting business, and everyone told me I was nuts, absolutely insane. And I probably was, right? But what if it fails and you have nothing to fall back on, right? Like, you're a mom, you have 2 little kids, right? I mean, I was married. I'm still married. My husband's extremely supportive. So I was lucky to have that, but we didn't have any extra money to be throwing around. We didn't have the ability at that time to empty out a 401k and just be fine with it. No, that was a huge risk. That definitely put a dent in things for a very long time, right? But it was that risk that allowed me to start that company, and then allowed me, right, to grow into what it is today, the company that I have now, right, which we have like 100 times, like, in income, what we were looking at back then. I mean, it's just crazy to even consider what was big for us then compared to what we do now. So, but again, it started with that kind of dip, if you will, where it's like, no, this was really, really tough for a while. But it was necessary. It was necessary. And I would rather have done that, like I said, and failed trying something than to not try at all and always wonder if I could have done it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shared that with us, Kate, because one of the topics we always talk about is how to finance your dream. And obviously there's the bank, you go to family, but sometimes it's out of your own saving. And so I'm thankful that you shared that, because I think that it's important for people to be reminded that you can save, and sometimes that savings is what is going to be able to start the dream. And that, it really can be, like you said, now 7 or 8 years later, it's just catapult you, so much further than where you thought you could be. So that was great. The other thing I wanted to point out, which I think is a nugget alert, is that Kate said you can go back to the safe place. And I had a little aha moment. It's like, yeah, why we should be reminded of that the safe place is going to be there, but the opportunities, they're the ones that could pass by us. So as far as the actual business, structure, I know you mentioned earlier you hired a new CEO, like things are booming. So what about the actual business side of what you do? What are some things that have surprised you in that aspect?
Well, one thing I will say to taking the risk and the financing piece also is I think it's really important for people to know that it is okay to invest at the rate that you're growing. So a lot of times we want to put it all out up front, and we want to, just go all in. And I love that. I mean, that's awesome. But also, let's just be smart about it, right? Like, let's be strategic here. So I'm really big on only investing at the rate that I'm growing. And what I mean by that is that especially in today's climate, it is more, it is easier now more than ever to begin a business, because the world is literally your audience. Like, this is your virtual stage. Right here, what we're doing. We're on a Zoom call right now. We're all seeing each other. We literally have access to people all over the world through the internet like never before. And because of what is going on in the world currently with the pandemic, a global pandemic, this is the first time our entire world has experienced something at the same time. We have devastating fires, affecting California. We have, earthquakes that affect different, parts of the country. We have tornadoes that hit. This is all centralized in different places. This is the first time the entire world has experienced something at the same time. And now more than ever, people are in front of their computers, right? Mm-hmm. So we have now this, first of all, opportunity to have a virtual business that takes literally very little income. Like I'm talking like stop going to Starbucks type of income to start up a business online. Okay.
Yep.
And you then also have the exposure like never before. Like, did you know that, I don't even know where my phone is. It's over there on my desk. The iPhone that we carry or whatever, Android, the cell phone that you carry around in your pocket has more capabilities than Apollo 13 had when it landed on the moon. Like, do we realize this? It is insane the capabilities that we have in our life today, and how much are we taking advantage of that? You already paid for your phone. Create your business from your phone. You don't need to invest in a new computer. You don't need to invest in a ton of technology. Some people, like Jennifer, she needs a brick and mortar most likely in order to do her business, right? But not everybody needs to invest in that. So there are so many different ways that you can just get started. And then as you continue to grow, you can invest more and more. And then that's where you can scale and expand, right? But that's one of the main things that I think it's really important for people to know. Just get started and then continue to scale as it feels appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we talk about is, as you're working towards your dream, you may still need to work that 9 to 5. You still need to maybe, you do what your dream on the weekend, or you do it later at night, or, we also talk about just what you said, that number one, just start now. And it takes very little as far, a business that you would have to start 20 years ago could cost you millions of dollars to start because of technology needs. But now it's practically nothing. So yeah, that's such great advice. Invest at the rate that you're growing. That's another definite nugget alert. So on the business side, what has surprised you about the actual conducting your business?
First thing that came to my mind was how easy it is to make money. No, truly though. I mean, it really is, when you're doing what you love, it really is surprising how many people just want to be a part of that. And they want to experience that magic right along with you. I mean, it's a really, really cool thing. I never experienced that when I was in corporate or in recruiting, right? Because now other people did in recruiting. Other people absolutely did because they were in their jam. Like they loved it. They loved showing up every day. So people wanted to be a part of that with them, right? I didn't towards the end. So I didn't experience that. It was tough. It was an uphill battle every single day. Nobody wants to be a part of that, right? So when I switched over to doing the publishing, it surprises me every day, actually, how many people have a dream of writing a book. Wherever I go, whether it's like I go to my kids' school for pickup, or I'm at a party and I meet new people, or I'm actually like in, the client's space, it is surprising to me all of the time how many people have that dream of writing a book, right? So that's one of the first things that surprises me. The second thing that surprises me is this might sound funny, but in the beginning, I was very much like, I have to do it all myself because no one will ever care about my dream the way that I do. And it does surprise me that there are people out there that are truly so invested in becoming part of the bigger mission, part of the impact, that they absolutely treat your business just like it would be theirs. And this is something that really did surprise me, because that was a limiting belief that I had to overcome in the beginning of my business. So there's a lot around the team and team building and things like that continues to surprise me every single day. And we're still growing and learning on that. But that's another piece of it as well.
Definitely experienced people have just kind of jumped in on the dream and just been super supportive. I know Jennifer experiences that in the salon where, she set the vision out. This is what we're going to do. And people have really, really supported her and helped her grow her business. So we're going to go ahead and just take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we will be right back.
Dempsey Weiss and Associates is a multi-line insurance agency successfully meeting the insurance and financial needs of the landscaping, business contractor, and agricultural community in southern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania since 1989. To learn more, visit us at www.dempseyweiss.com. J Faith Hair Studio, centrally located in southern New Jersey. J Faith Hair Studio is the place to go to become the best version of yourself. Confidence in your appearance is always important, and a great hairstyle is an absolute necessity. Visit jfaithhairstudio.com to book your appointment today.
All right, and we are back. Thank you to our sponsors. So Kate, how do you promote your business?
This is so funny. I was just part of a business training a couple weeks ago. It was a virtual training with 3,000 other entrepreneurs, and we were told to stand up if you have a referral system in your business, right? And then you were to continue standing out of 3,000 people, okay? Continue standing if 80% or more of your business comes from referrals, and then 90%, and then 100%, right? And at the end, there was two of us standing, maybe one of them, that 100% of your business comes from referral basis. And so the way that I promote my business is through my clients. I have different systems of referrals, but unless I meet somebody directly, right? And I meet you, hi Staci, we bumped into each other, somewhere, and we happen to meet and hit it off, and now you're in my world. Other than that, like a literal live connection between me and someone, all of it comes from a referral basis. I look forward to getting into social media marketing. Paid, right? Like the paid part of that. Honestly, we haven't even had the bandwidth to do that yet because we are I have to hire a team to take on new business because we couldn't handle it at this time. And that's what we were talking about before we started, really getting into this conversation today, is that business has grown so much, even just based on the referral basis, that we had to build out our team, right? Invest at the rate that you grow. So we had to build out our teams. And as we continue to develop in our marketing, because one of our goals for 2020 was a little bit more of sophisticated marketing out on social media, we realized we couldn't do that because we couldn't handle the business, right?
So what would you say would be do-overs if you had any? I know that I feel like that could go either way, because it's like we have no regrets, but if you had any do-overs, what would they be in starting your business?
I would have grown a team much earlier on. It is not easy for me to not do everything myself. It's not natural. It's against the grain. So there's a lot of growing pains that come along with that for me. And it's like the more you get into your business and the more you are ingrained in the way things are and the way that you do things, I feel like the harder those growing pains become. So if I could have a do-over, I would have gotten through those much earlier on in the business and relinquish that control a lot earlier, because it's just not possible to do it. Look, if you want to go out there and make 70, 80, even maybe up to $150,000, you absolutely can do it all yourself. You're going to be tired, but you can do it. But if you really want to hit those goals, right? Like if you want multiple six figures, if you want that seven figures, like if you want to keep going, you can't do it on your own. It's just not possible, right? So I would, if I could do it over, I would definitely get those growing pains out of the way earlier on, so that the scaling also is easier as business increased.
Sure. And then how are you going about finding a team now, since you are starting to move through those growing pains? How are you finding talent?
I do a ton of networking just like in my business alone, right? So I really believe that every interaction that we have with someone is like, what can you teach me, right? Like, or what can I teach you? Like, and usually both, right? Like at certain times, like, you are teaching me when we meet, and then we meet again and I have something to offer you back, right? So it's definitely a fluid relationship, but in every single person I meet, like I'm just interested, right? Like I want to know, like, how can I serve you? Or is there a way that, you might be able to help me out in what my current challenges are? So I literally have like an Excel spreadsheet, like with people that I meet, and I'm like, okay, like this is where I could add value to them. This is where they could add value to me. Like, it's like, I have an ongoing list. So like if you needed a graphic designer right now, I'd be like, let me pull up my list, right? Like that type of thing. Because I come in contact with a ton of people. I get a ton of referrals. I also have a lot of clients that come back and say, I'd love to support you in this way. I see that you do this in your business and I happen to be an expert in this, and I just love your mission and what you do. So I'd like to be able to add value here. What do you think about this? So I do have a lot of people approach me as well about that. That makes it really nice for them to come and say, this is what I can do for you, versus you having to go and search it. But I will tell you that one of the anchors in my business is someone that I met at that first recruiting job after college when I was 24 years old. Her and I both worked at that recruiting company together. She still lives in California, where I was working at the time. And we stayed in contact all throughout the years. She actually ended up leaving. She was in a marketing position later on at a different corporate company. And she actually fell into the speaking and coaching industry as well. And so her model is slightly different than mine. And a part of her model is supporting other coaches and speakers and entrepreneurs. So she is my main support person of operations and things of that nature. But again, it's that networking, it's that staying in contact with someone, right? And as her skills developed and as my company developed, I went, hold on a second. I think that you could add a ton of value over here to the parts of my business that I'm not so great at, right? Which is more of like the operation, the organization, like all of that kind of thing.
Well, I tell you, I just came up with a new bodacious goal. I want to be on that spreadsheet. So I wrote that down. That is going on my vision board. I don't know. I've got to figure out what I'm putting on there to remind me, but I'm going to get on that spreadsheet somehow, some way.
Jack is on the spreadsheet.
No, don't make it that easy for me. Make me work a little bit.
Oh, that's so great.
What a great idea. That's, I feel like that's like top organizing skill, like organization skills, like to keep a spreadsheet. It's very cool. I do want to say too, yeah.
The brilliance in what Kate just described there was, again, it's just relationship building, networking, just understanding again that, many times when it comes to call it building a team, many times we think about that being top down employee type relationship, but your team can be just other people that, again, that you have identified as having a particular skill set, that, again, you're just going to partner somehow. And that could be, as Kate described, maybe, I can offer something to your business. You can bring something to my business. It could be more formalized, or, I hire you to help me in that portion of the business, so, for our listeners who are out there who are entrepreneurs or thinking about it, just be very aware of the people around you and what they do and what they do well. And then as you begin to identify needs in your business, because Kate hit it right on the head. Matter of fact, Michael Dell from Dell Computer, that's exactly what he said when he was asked, if you had one thing to do over again, what would it be? And he said, I would have hired good people sooner. And so it's a lesson for all of us to say, if you want to grow to scale your business, you need good people around you. You can't do that. You can take it to a certain level, as Kate described, but you're not going to scale up from there, without having talent, in your world. So, so good stuff. So I got to work my way on that talent sheet.
That's right, Jack. Get it together over there.
Right.
So Kate, in the world of COVID-19, what does your networking look like now? How has that changed?
Yes. So much has changed in the world of COVID-19. I'll be honest that when March, I think it was 13th hit, might have even been a few days before that the kids were released from school and we didn't know what was going to happen. And then we got word that they weren't going back and then everything shut down. And for the first 2 weeks, I was like, the business is done. Like, it's over. Who in the world would be one, like, who wants to go after their dreams right now? Like, with the world shutting down, like, we don't even know, we can't even get food. Like, I can't even get Lysol. Like, what are we talking about here? How is anybody going to want to write a book, fulfill their dreams, follow their passions? And so I probably, just like the rest of the world, like, just went into like total like zombie mode. I was like, binge watching all the shows and like, just like, oh my God, like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I was like a zombie. And then I said, you know what, if I'm feeling this way, other people must be feeling this way. So I opened up for all of my clients. I said, let's all just meet on Zoom. Let's just have like a 5 o'clock happy hour, bring the cup of your choice, and we will, just connect from all over the world. Okay. And so many people showed up to this happy hour, and it was absolutely fascinating to me that although people were scared and nervous and unsure, what they were looking for the most was community, connection, and something to hope for. And that's exactly what our company did before COVID. We supplied all of that. And I thought, well, get your act together, Kate, because this is what they need right now. They literally need everything that your company does right now. You have to be the leader. You have to just get out of this funk and you have to step up. And so that's exactly what I did. I made a decision literally after that Zoom call, and I was like, that's it. We're done. We're pivoting everything that was live. We're switching it over and we're going for it. We're going full force. And we probably have 10 times our business since March. I don't even know what the numbers look like right now because I don't even have the bandwidth to sit and look at numbers anymore. And that used to be my favorite thing to do. It's insane, in the best possible way. So the point is that we just started to show up and identify, like, where do our clients need us the most and what is it that they do need the most, right? During this specific time. We've relaunched our Pathway to Miracles program, which is all about hope, finding miracles in your everyday life. You're switching your mindset, having that energy shift. So this is like the biggest, also a common misconception is that if you are somebody who can, have a certain mindset, that everything is perfect. No, it's just that I can look at a situation and say, is this going to matter to me in 5 minutes? Right? Is it going to matter to me in 5 years? And if the answer is no, move on, frog, right? Like, why are we talking about this? Why are we still worrying about this, right? So, it's like, not that everything's perfect. It's just, how do you figure out that situation and move forward from it? And at what speed? That's the biggest thing. And at what speed do you move forward from it, right? So, anyway, so this is kind of what's been going on here, since COVID is really, I guess the best way I can put it is rising up to the situation, rising up to the occasion, right? It's not easy even sometimes, right? Because, like we said, Staci, when we first got on the call, like, I'm not immune to what's going on in the world, but what I don't do is watch the news. Right. Because if I was watching the news, I would be putting my energy state and my mindset back into fear mode every single time I tapped into the news channel, right? I promise you, I know what's going on in the world. Absolutely. I might get it a few days late, but somebody always tells me. I always find out. So I get what I need to know, but I do not need to engage. I'm very conscious about what I put into my mind. This real estate right here, right in the my brain, this $1 million real estate, right? Who is taking up rent in this $1 million real estate? You do not get to rent this for $500 a month. This is $1 million real estate. So I am very careful, being the gatekeeper of my mind every single day, of every conversation I have, every thought that gets into my mind. And you don't just get to put things in there for free, right? You don't get to take up rent for free. So I'm very, very conscious of that. And then that's kind of how it's easier, not easy, but easier to show up even during a global pandemic when the world is shut down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Preach it, sister.
Yeah.
Give it to us. We need it.
Well, I know, again, with Jennifer, I mean, that was one of the things that we talked about, during that period of time too, is just, how are we going to come out of this in our businesses stronger, more innovative? I think that's really what I get most excited about, as we start to, and again, we're not out of this yet by any stretch, but as we're starting to, adapt to living, in a world with COVID-19. I just love the innovation that you're beginning to see out there and how, Jennifer, I mean, you were really good at trying to start to think through, all right, I'm forced to shut down, I cannot open my doors. So walk us through how you thought through your innovation.
I think it goes back to what Kate said too, is like where we have to meet our clients where they are, like what do they need right now? And we thought, oh, well, everyone shut down, so their hair doesn't matter. But what we learned, and what we learned quickly, is no, people are still working, but now they're on Zoom, and they might be feeling their business partners never saw them with gray roots, and now they are. So, just trying to, again, meet your client where they are, and just to continue to serve them and have that heart of how can I continue to do business and help my client. I had a few clients who during our shutdown purchased gift cards from our salon, and I'm talking $250, $350 worth of gift cards. And I can think of 5 clients off the top of my head that never redeemed their gift cards. We've been reopened 3 times. They've been back in the salon 3 times. I'm like, you have this gift card. You want to use it tonight? No. So I think that's just a testimony of our guests, our clients have buy-in to what we really stand for. And they wanted to help us. That $350 gift card that they don't plan on redeeming to help us through COVID of a 3-month shutdown, just, was just their way of showing up for us and supporting us as well. So I think when you get a good business model and you have that relationship, not only with your employees, but your guests, your clients, your customers, you will continue to be surprised on how they want to show up for you as well.
So my last question, and I kind of feel like I already know the answer to this, but Kate, what's the one thing that you enjoy the most about what you do? And is there anything that you don't enjoy about it?
What I don't like are the things that are out of my control. Specifically when it comes to publishing, there's a lot of moving parts. You have editors, you have designers, you have formatters, there's the actual, tangible publishing piece of it. And so much of that is, project management, quite frankly, right? And, waiting for other things to be in and other people to, contribute what their portion is, which is an absolutely critical portion of the project, but again, out of my control. So it can be difficult at times managing all of that. And also the waiting game, right? Things of that nature. So I would say that's probably the most difficult part of it. I want everything yesterday. Like my team is so funny. We had to have a whole meeting around priorities because I was like, they were like, when do you want this done? I'm like, I don't get it. Like, right now. Like, I don't understand what this question is. And they were like, so you have to understand, Kate, that
Right.
everything you tell us is like literally urgent. And I'm like, tell me more about what is the problem? And they're like, so, you know what I mean? Because, when it's your business and you know what's going on and how to move through things, you're at a lightning pace, right? And it's just everybody moves in a different way because they have their own zone of genius, right? So anyway, the point is that we had a whole meeting. I'm like, okay, so now what we do is we do level 1, level 2, and level 3 priorities. So it's really clear, like, this is what I work on first, and I only go to a level 2 once this is complete, right? So it really changed things for us in that regard. But yeah, that waiting game and managing all of that can be difficult, but it also helps with patience right? And really also to your point, Staci, with the gratitude piece, it's a very real part of my everyday life. It's a critical part of it. 80% of what we do is our mindset, and everything else that we talk about, the logistics, how do we get financing, how do we set up a business, the infrastructure, all of that, that's the other 20%, like at best, right? Like we're being generous by giving that a 20%. So the mindset's really the biggest piece of it. So when I can get in gratitude about the reason this is taking so long is that they are showing up in their zone of genius and they are pouring every ounce of their best into this work. And I appreciate it so much. It totally shifts the energy around it, right? So it is a struggle for me, and I have to go in and remind myself to show up in that way so that the energy around the project remains super high and that all of us are, kind of engaging in that together. And what I love the absolute most is the impact that the authors are able to make through their stories, right? Because what I learned early on in business is if I can do a one-to-many versus a one-to-one, I win bigger each time I do a one-to-many. And that's how I structured my business model. So this is where I was helping authors with one book, and then the one book was going out in the world. And like I said, my first children's book, it was on the bestseller chart for over 100 weeks straight. It reached thousands and thousands of people. And then I was like, okay, that's awesome. One book can reach thousands of people. What if we had a whole bunch of us got together and did a book, and then each audience reached thousands of people? Now, all of a sudden, we reached 10,000 people with one book. And then what if it wasn't just one book? What if it became a series? So now every book in the series has 30 authors per book, and the impact just grows exponentially every single time we release, right? And so now all of a sudden there's a ripple effect all around the globe. So that is the most exciting thing to me, to know and see the results of that happening. You said these are the, some of the most inspirational books or something along those lines when we got on here. And I appreciate that so much, Staci, because this is literally like why I show up every single day, is so that someone like you, right, could read a story and say, this shifted things for me, even if it's just for today. And it made that impact on someone's heart and someone's life. So that's my favorite part.
But I tell you, I do love, again, just looking at your website. I mean, I guess I don't see anything here for dudes, though. I mean, this is like all women. I mean, you can't, how did dudes crack into this brilliance?
Jack, this may be how you get on the spreadsheet.
Right. Because I'm like, wait a minute. Women.
We do. We concentrate on women. I started a company that I would have wanted when I was a new mom with postpartum depression, and I didn't know which end was up. I was struggling. I was at a crossroads in my life. I was depressed. Things were crumbling down around me. Like we weren't paying our bills right. It was everyone else's fault in my life. Like, it was like, I had a problem with this friend. I had a problem with this family member. Like, this one did this to me and it's their fault. And at the end of the day, I went, what's the common denominator here? It's me. Like, I got to start taking responsibility for my own life and the way that I show up to things, and not what happens to me, but the way that I react to what happens to me. And I wish that I had had something like that when I was that, new mom at that really, really super low point in my life. And so that's actually where the company began, was for moms, and then it translated into women. And so who knows, we may eventually grow and expand beyond that, but that's really kind of where it started and why we gear it in that direction.
So with all of those wonderful things said, Kate, where can we find you? How can people connect to you? Are you on Instagram? You have a beautiful website. How do you want people to get to you?
Sure. So my website is katebutlerbooks.com. Tons of information, also free things on there to download, life-changing tools that we're happy to provide to you as a complimentary. Also, I am on all the socials as Kate Butler Books. I play the most on Facebook, but also on Instagram, yes, as Kate Butler Books. So I'm super happy to connect with anyone there as well.
Awesome. Well, we will be sure to link all of your social media and your website to this episode when it gets published, so that people will be easily be able to find you. And so, Kate, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for just spending the time with us. Just so much great information. I mean, everything that you shared with us just, has really hit the nail on the head. I think from every episode that we've recorded, from having mentors to financing to pursuing your dreams to not listening to anyone, it starts with you, and it's just been wonderful to be able to share this time with you. So thank you for being a part of it. We really are very grateful for you. And so to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in with us today. Please be sure to share this episode. Tell all your friends about the Business to Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. And until we can be together again, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
We want to thank you for listening today. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us a positive review. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Dempsey Weiss and Associates and J. Faith Hair Studio.